They kicked out his mother from hotel. The billionaire shut the hotel down that day. After 3 years of searching, billionaire Elias finally finds his missing mother, thrown out of a luxury hotel like a stranger. As he falls to his knees on the cold sidewalk, a heartbreaking reunion unfolds, revealing a promise, a piece of stale bread, and a love that survived even when memory did not. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments, what time is it and where are you watching from? Let's start. Get her out of here, officer. She is scaring the guests. Manager Vance's voice echoed through the pristine lobby, his arm extended, a sharp finger pointing aggressively toward the revolving doors. He adjusted his impeccably tailored gray suit, his face contorted in disgust. "Ma'am, you need to keep moving. Come on," the officer said, his voice tight. He placed his heavy hands on the old woman's frail back, physically shoving her forward. "Please," the elderly woman whispered. Her voice was like dry leaves. She clutched a dirty, worn-out canvas bag to her chest, leaning heavily on a wooden cane. Her oversized, tattered brown coat hung off her thin frame, sweeping the floor. "I'm just waiting. My boy said to meet him at the place with the gold numbers, the 002. He promised." "I don't care who promised you what," Vance snapped from inside the glass. "You cannot loiter in a 5-star establishment looking like that. Push her out, officer." The revolving doors spun, forcing the fragile woman out into the damp, cold air of the sidewalk. She stumbled, her cane slipping on the marble step. "Mom?" The single word cut through the noise of the busy street, sharper than a physical blow. Standing just a few feet away was a man in his late 50s. He wore a flawless blue pinstripe suit, a heavy luxury watch catching the dull light. His hands, gripping a set of car keys, were trembling uncontrollably. His dark eyes were wide-filled with a violently shifting storm of disbelief, horror, and overwhelming heartbreak. "Mom?" he choked out again, taking a hesitant step forward, as if afraid the vision would shatter. The officer paused, looking from the billionaire to the beggar. "Sir, I'd step back if I were you. She's unpredictable." Elias didn't hear him. The world had tunneled down to the frail, trembling woman in the oversized rags. 3 years, 3 agonizing, relentless, soul-crushing years of searching. Private investigators, national databases, thousands of sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if the woman who had scrubbed floors until her hands bled to put him through school was lying dead in a ditch. When Alzheimer's had first stolen pieces of her mind, Elias had hired the absolute best private care. He loved her more than life itself. But one afternoon, a gate had been left unlocked by a negligent nurse. She had wandered out, swallowed instantly by the unforgiving maw of the city. He had billions of dollars, yet all his wealth couldn't buy a single clue to her whereabouts. She had become a ghost until today. "Take your hands off her," Elias said. His voice wasn't a yell. It was a low, dangerous rumble that made the officer instantly release her and step back. The old woman blinked, her cloudy eyes squinting at the towering man in the blue suit. Are you the manager?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I don't mean to cause a fuss. My son Elias, he told me when he made it big, he'd take me to the fancy hotel, the one with the gold 002 on the wall. I couldn't remember the way home, but I found the numbers. I'm just waiting for my Elias." A sob ripped from Elias's throat. He dropped to his knees, right there on the dirty sidewalk, ruining his $1,000 trousers. He didn't care. He reached out, his shaking hands gently enveloping her cold, dirt-stained fingers. "Mom, it's me," he whispered, tears spilling freely down his face. "It's Elias. I'm here. I'm right here." She stared at him, her brow furrowing. She reached out a trembling hand, her rough, calloused thumb brushing away a tear from his cheek. "Elias? My little Elias? You look so old, and you're wearing a suit. Such a handsome suit." "I'm sorry," Elias cried, pressing her hand to his face, kissing her palm. "I am so sorry, Mom. I should have been there. I should have protected you. I never stopped looking." The officer stood frozen, realizing the catastrophic mistake he had just participated in. Inside the lobby, Manager Vance had stopped pointing. His arrogant sneer dissolved into an expression of sheer, unadulterated panic. He rushed through the revolving doors, stumbling out onto the sidewalk. "Mr. Sterling!" Vance gasped, recognizing the billionaire who owned half the real estate in the city. "Sir, I had no idea. If she had just told us who she was—" Elias stood up slowly, keeping one arm securely around his mother's frail shoulders. The heartbreak in his eyes was instantly replaced by a cold, calculating fury as he looked at the 30-something manager. "She didn't know who she was," Elias said, his voice dangerously quiet. "She has a sickness that steals her memory, but she remembered my promise. She came here waiting for me." "Sir, you have to understand from our perspective," Vance stammered, his face pale, hands raised in defense. "From your perspective, she was garbage to be thrown out," Elias interrupted. "You saw an elderly woman, confused and frail, leaning on a cane, and instead of offering her a glass of water, instead of showing basic human decency and calling for medical help, you ordered her shoved into the street like an animal. It's company policy, Mr. Sterling. We have an image to uphold." "Not anymore." Elias pulled his phone from his pocket. He dialed a number, his eyes never leaving Vance's terrified face. "David," Elias said into the phone. "The Grandeur Hotel. Yes, the one on 5th. Who owns the property group?" He paused, listening. "Call them. Tell them I'm buying the building. Offer them double the market value. I want the paperwork drafted in the next hour." Vance's jaw dropped. "Sir, you can't just—" "I just did," Elias said, hanging up. He looked at Vance, then at the officer. "You are fired, both of you. Pack your desks. By this evening, this hotel will be permanently closed for renovations. When it reopens, it will be a subsidized luxury care facility for the elderly who have no families to look after them. And you, Mr. Vance, will never find employment in this city's hospitality sector again. I will personally see to it." "Please, Elias," his mother whispered, tugging gently at his sleeve. She looked frightened by the shouting. "Can we go home now? I'm so tired and my feet hurt." The anger drained from Elias instantly. He turned back to her, his expression softening into pure devotion. "Yes, Mama," he said softly. "We're going home." Elias ignored the stammering manager and the stunned officer. He gently guided his mother toward the sleek, luxury car parked just down the curb. He opened the door himself, helping her settle into the plush leather seats before rounding the car and getting in beside her. As the car pulled away from the curb, leaving the terrified manager standing on the sidewalk, the silence inside the cabin was heavy, but no longer cold. "I brought you something," his mother said suddenly, her voice pulling Elias from his thoughts. She reached into the dirty, frayed canvas bag she had been clutching so desperately. Her hand shook as she pulled out a crumpled, severely stale piece of bread wrapped in a dirty napkin. "I saved it for you," she said, offering it to him with a proud, albeit confused, smile. "You always got so hungry after school. I know it's not much, Elias, but I wanted to make sure you ate." Elias stared at the stale bread. The dam broke. The logical billionaire, the ruthless businessman who had just bought a hotel on a whim, completely fell apart. He took the bread with trembling hands, holding it as if it were the most precious diamond in the world. While she was lost, starving, and wandering the unforgiving streets in oversized rags, her broken mind had still prioritized feeding her son. She had kept that bread in her bag, protecting it, waiting at the hotel with the gold 002, because her heart remembered a promise her brain had forgotten. "Thank you, Mama," Elias choked out, biting back a sob. "It's perfect. I was so hungry." She smiled, leaning her tired head against his shoulder. "I'm glad. You work so hard, my boy. You shouldn't wear such nice clothes, though. You'll get them dirty playing outside." "I'll be careful," he whispered, wrapping his arm around her, pulling her close. The smell of the streets was strong on her coat, but to Elias it was the smell of a miracle. He rested his head against hers. "I'm sorry I took so long to find you," he murmured into her tangled gray hair. "I never stopped looking. The nurses, they lost you, and I couldn't find you. I thought I had failed you." "Failed me?" She looked up at him, her cloudy eyes suddenly remarkably clear, piercing right through to his soul. "Oh, Elias, you could never fail me. You're my son. You're right here." "I'm right here," he repeated, the words a sacred vow. "And I am never letting you out of my sight again. No more care facilities, no more nurses who don't care. You're coming home with me. I'm going to take care of you myself." "That sounds nice," she whispered, her eyes fluttering shut as the warmth of the car finally began to seep into her frail bones. "I missed you, Elias." "I missed you too, Mama." Elias looked out the tinted window as the city blurred past. The rage he had felt on the sidewalk was gone, replaced by a profound, heavy sense of healing. The universe had given him a second chance. He had all the money in the world, but as he sat holding his mother's dirty, calloused hand, he finally felt like the richest man alive. He had lost her to the cruelty of a disease and the negligence of others. But love, deep, enduring, illogical love, had guided her back to the last promise they shared, and Elias swore on his life as she finally drifted into a peaceful sleep against his shoulder that he would spend every remaining day making sure she never felt cold, lost, or forgotten again. The billionaire hadn't just shut down a hotel today, he had shut down the darkest chapter of his life and finally, truly, brought his mother home. That night, Manager Vance sat alone in his dim apartment, the city lights flickering through the window, while his phone remained silent on the table. Word had already spread through the entire hospitality network. Every hotel, resort, and corporate office had heard what happened at the Grandeur Hotel. Each call he made ended the same way, cold rejection. His reputation, built over 15 years, had collapsed in a single afternoon. The officer faced a formal suspension and an internal investigation for excessive force and misconduct toward a vulnerable elderly woman. His badge suddenly felt heavier than ever. Both men replayed the moment on the sidewalk again and again, realizing too late that one cruel decision had destroyed their careers and reputations forever.